All right, so combat sports is coming back. There is a lot going on, and it's back. It's scrambling all over the place. So right about now, you might be a newer combat sports fan, and maybe you're adopting it, or you're kind of opening your mind or eyes to it a little bit more, because there's not a lot of other live sports happening right now. We know the NBA and MLB and NFL are kind of coming back, and there's still a lot of, uncertainties around that.
Right.
But you have a choice really to kind of make if you're a combat sports fan. Because you may not be the type of person that can say, oh, I'm going to pay the $14, $15 or whatever it costs for DAZN. I'm going to pay the $4.99 for ESPN Plus. I'm going to pay the $9.99 for UFC Fight Pass. And I'm going to pay this, and I got a subscription to Showtime or whatever. And then I'll catch the fights on Fox when they're on PBC and ESPN. So in your opinion, right now, if you were assessing all of this stuff, where do you think, what would you advise a combat sports fan to go?
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I want to talk to you about in the championship rounds. I want to know what your take is. I'm going to give my take as a consumer who subscribes to all of these different things anyway, partly because I have to cover the sports, but secondly, because I love, boxing and MMA. So yeah, I'm interested in hearing what you have to say about that.
And you know what? This will be one of those rare times where I probably say a lot more than I'm usually willing to share based on what I know.
All right. Well, that makes it even better.
Even better.
Even better.
I mean, right now, ESPN's just winning all over the place. Okay. The UFC was the first of all combat sports. I mean, I'm not counting WWE. Okay. I'm counting, MMA and boxing. I mean, UFC with ESPN has already been successful.
Yes.
Higher numbers than usual because of the lack of other sports that should have been taking place right now. No baseball, or I should say no MLB. I mean, Korean baseball has been pretty entertaining.
And it's actually doing pretty good ratings.
Yeah, well, when people want to watch sports, they will adapt and they will start learning new names and new players, and they want to watch competitive sports.
And so there's some American players there. So
yeah, so they just, they tune in, they enjoy it. But ESPN's winning right now. Between the programming they have with UFC, Top Rank is the first boxing promotional company out of the major promoters that's coming back. Their first fight is June 9th. As was approved by the Nevada Commission this past Wednesday. Then they have shows running every Tuesday and Thursday after that, at least through July. So from June and July, you could expect 15 events, 5 fights per event, 75 fights that you're going to get to watch in the span of 8 weeks from Top Rank and ESPN, and you're going to see competitive fights. The people are getting the calls, and these are competitive fights. So right now I see ESPN winning because DAZN doesn't know what it's going to do yet. Early on, DAZN had announced that it wouldn't start new programming until July. Well, I got a text the other day about Ryan Garcia potentially fighting July 4th. But then the rest of the text said, we'll let you know, if that's solid and which network. I'm like, which network? Isn't Ryan going to fight on DAZN? So it makes me wonder if Golden Boy feels that they just don't want to be patient to wait until DAZN decides when they want to start picking up programming.
Yeah.
And they feel that, look, Top Rank is going to be, 8 shows in. Exclusive, because PBC hasn't announced any shows. Golden Boy hasn't announced any shows, and Matchroom hasn't announced any shows.
Right.
And Matchroom in the UK, as opposed to Matchroom Boxing in the United States, I mean, the UK is behind us with their quarantine and their COVID-19 numbers.
Yes, very much.
So right now, from a winning standpoint, I mean, I think we're going to see a lot of success with ESPN. Some of the conservative numbers from the inside have expressed that we can expect between 750,000 to 1 million viewers per show.
Yeah, I mean, UFC Fight Night 172, which was not a oh my god card, did 1.15 million
So it's
views.
consistent.
Yeah.
And that's what they were even probably a little bit more conservative, saying 750,000 to 1 million.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these are going to be just, you're going to see world title fights on Tuesdays and Thursdays,
Which is crazy.
And ESPN,
it's awesome, but it's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, look, Top Rank's been very aggressive, and they're ahead of the game, because for these other promoters to start getting back in action, they're going to have to come up with their own COVID plan, their own testing plan. I physically have taken fighters already to get their medicals for a fight on June 16th that are going to be fighting in Las Vegas on one of the Top Rank shows. And part of the test that they had to do yesterday was the antibody test, the rapid test, and then the nose swab.
Yeah.
Which I did with them, by the way, so I'm negative, just to point it out. But the point is that not only that, but when they get there, there's a protocol and that they're going to have to follow. So some of these other promoters, you just wonder, you hear these things about what's going on with the DAZN. I would take it with a grain of salt. But self-admittedly said that they wouldn't be looking to do something until July.
Right. And I think because they are UK based, I think that, the struggles with COVID-19 there are keeping them a little bit behind. Like you said, they're a little bit behind us with their process. So I think that's what you're seeing. But I would agree with you right now. If you look at $4.99 for your ESPN Plus right now,
right,
man, I'm telling you, like, I know that like the main UFC main card is on ESPN, regular ESPN, but you can literally for the $4.99 see every single fight for ESPN, for the UFC, except for the main card of a pay-per-view, which then of course you have to pay extra for. But if you kind of just look at it across the board through the year, not to mention the other content that's there, I would have to agree that for a combat sports fan, that's the one you just kind of got to have. That's the one you just kind of got to have. Yes, it doesn't give you your Showtime fights, doesn't get you the PBC people.
What Showtime fights?
Exactly.
What PBC fights?
Yeah.
PBC very well might announce fights that are going to take place, at some point moving forward on Fox, but Al Heyman might be just taking a wait and see approach.
You're right. He might.
But, sometimes it's better to be first.
Sometimes it is better to be first. And I that's kind of goes back to a point I was making a few months ago. Get out there. And if you can get the security and the safety measures put in place, I think that the promotion that gets out there first, which is going to be Top Rank, is going to endear itself, and it's going to endear its stars and fighters to the public in a way that I think is going to ultimately increase each of these fighters' brands and their overall exposure. I believe that. I 100% believe that. So, and I think it'll be sustained somewhat even once some of the other fighters start to come back.
And let me tell you why that's important, Brian. Little history.
Yeah.
There's one soft drink company during World War II that decided to send free soft drinks to the servicemen and women.
Absolutely.
You know who that was?
Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola.
Yep.
When those servicemen and women came back, their brand loyalty put Coca-Cola ahead, and they've never lost market share since.
Yep.
To your point of endearing the fans, saying, look, some guys might test positive, fights might get scratched. Hey, they're trying. And they're putting guys back to work.
Yeah. And combat sports people, period. This is how their mindsets are. They don't want to sacrifice humanity or anything like that, but they do really, really, really want to see the sports back. And if you are willing to work and I'm telling you, this is why, people can take shots at Dana, and he definitely deserves it a lot because some of the crazy things that he's said and done and ways he's carried himself in certain ways. But this dude is a monster when it comes to being determined and his work ethic to get things done and to not take no for an answer. See, people are made differently. People are just cut differently. This dude is the kind of guy who has the audacity not to take the first 2, 3, 4, 5 no answers for an answer. He's going to keep coming. He's going to keep doing it until he gets what he wants. And for some people, that's maniacal and too much. But for other people, it's how you produce. It's how you produce. And I think fans of mixed martial arts, whether they like him or not, have to have some level of appreciation for the way he's approached it. So,
and Brian, and for some people, it's put food on the table.
For a lot of people,
so his determination and no, not taking no for an answer and putting safety measures in place has kept a lot of people back in business.
Yeah, and because he said the UFC is not going to do any layoffs.
And listen, I'll give Top Rank credit because Bob Arum is floating the concept. I'm just hearing this from other fighters and managers and fathers, etc., that are reaching out to me. Hey, what do you think about this? They might do a $40 pay-per-view. Yeah. Cut the guarantee a little bit, and then we would participate on the back end. That's going to allow some bigger fights to happen.
This is the stuff I was saying, though, Pete. This is the stuff I was saying. Getting creative. Deciding to approach these things from breaking some of these molds that have always been, because this time is not what has always been.
So let me give you a scenario. What if we got Lomachenko Lopez for $40 for $39.99?
Man, people will lose their minds, and people are they're gonna
almost half off. It is half off
for the HD version too.
Yeah, half off.
Man,
imagine if you get it at $39.99.
That kind of stuff. I'm going to tell you something, and we're going to wrap up soon because we don't want to have a super, super long show. But going to the sports video game world, Madden has dominated the whole NFL scene forever. Now, they just recently re-upped their exclusive rights license to do simulation football games. So there will not be another NFL football game, not a simulation NFL football game, before at least 2026, besides Madden. They have cornered the market, and they are saying, nobody else is going to even be able to make a game like this. But what precipitated this deal originally was NFL 2K came out, and they knew that Madden was the football game. And if we're going to get in here and get any market share, we can't come in here with the same price, because so many people are already just their life and their whole connection to the game is just playing Madden. So what we need to do is, we know we got a good product. We need to get people to try it. So they came out, and NFL 2K and all of their 2K games when they first started were $19.99. Which is literally $40 cheaper than what the games cost, $59.99. Right. And it caused a surge. And then they did their jobs by making a quality product that people really, really liked. And then so what EA did was like, oh, really? And they started literally noticing they were losing some level of the market share. And before they could lose more of it that they were comfortable with, they approached EA and they approached the NFL and said, hey, well, what do you think? Or actually, it was the other way around. The NFL noticed it and came to EA and said, well, hey, if you want to eliminate your competition, we'll give you exclusive rights, but this is how much it'll cost.
Right.
And so they paid to eliminate the competition.
So imagine this. Imagine you get, I'm just using it hypothetically because it's sort of like next up on the list, right? Next up on the runway. You get Lomachenko Lopez, undisputed lightweight championship of the world, say $39.99. And the fighters, instead of getting, I'm just using this as an example, instead of getting a $4 million guarantee, you're getting a $2 million guarantee. But you're going to get some points on the pay-per-view. You don't think these guys are going to promote this pay-per-view like crazy?
Yeah, because it's now you have a vested interest in it.
You got skin in the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have just as much to lose as you do the game.
This is what I'm talking about, man. Just getting creative, everybody's got to do things different ways than you used to do it. If we all want to make as much money as possible out of this time, because if you think about it, the fighters are the ones really that they don't have the leverage, because first of all, you don't get paid if you don't fight. Second of all, you have to worry about your vitality as a fighter. My vitality as a promoter is much longer. My career span as a promoter is 3, 4, 5 times as long as yours as a fighter.
Yeah,
You
the
know,
window is
the
just
window is
much
whatever.
smaller.
So once you start to get older, now I'm literally losing time. I'm
Mhm.
losing earning potential. So